The hall of justice echoed with thunderous accusations. Guards stood in rigid rows. Lin Chong, hands bound, his treasured sword confiscated, knelt in the cold heart of the court. "Traitor!" barked Grand Marshal Gao Q, his voice like iron striking stone. "You brought a blade into the White Tiger Hall. Were you plotting to assassinate your superior?" Lin Chong's voice cracked, but did not break. "I was summoned, my lord. 2 of your men brought me. They asked me to bring the sword for your appraisal." "There were no such men," Gao snapped. "You stormed in, armed and dangerous." The lies stacked higher than the imperial banners fluttering above them. Gao Q's order rang out. "Send him to the Kaifeng prefecture. Let the magistrate sort this scum out and seal the weapon, evidence of his treachery." Bound and humiliated, Lin Chong was dragged through the dusty streets, past curious onlookers, past neighbors who once bowed in respect. His heart carried the weight of betrayal heavier than the manacles on his wrists. At the prefecture, Magistrate Tengjin Zhang reviewed the sealed blade. He frowned. "Lin Chong," he began sternly, "you, an instructor of the Imperial Guards, entered the White Tiger Hall wielding a weapon. Do you not understand the gravity of such an act?" "I beg you, my lord," Lin Chong replied, kneeling low. "I am no rebel. This is a trap woven by the Grand Marshal himself. His nephew Gao Yanne sought to defile my wife. Twice he failed. Twice I stopped him. In vengeance, he has framed me. The tale I tell is true, and there are witnesses. I plead for your justice." The magistrate stroked his beard, lips pressed thin. He gave no answer, but called for the jailers. Lin Chong was shackled again and thrown into the dungeons. His old wounds, still raw from the lash, pulsed beneath the grime and sweat. Days passed, like dripping water in the darkness of the jail. Lin Chong's body ached from the rod and iron, but worse still was the poison of humiliation. His mind drifted often to his wife's face, the fear in her eyes that day in the temple, the strength in her silence. Help came not with banners or swords, but in the form of quiet kindness. A court clerk named Sun Ding, known among his fellows as Sun the Buddha, was a man of honor in a world that had forgotten the word. He whispered to the magistrate, "This is a trap. If we cannot save him openly, let us save him quietly." So a compromise was struck. Lin Chong would be spared the death penalty. But mercy in Kaifeng came at a price: 20 lashes across the back, a brand upon the cheek, and exile to the bitter north, to the prison town of Kangzhou. 2 escorts were assigned, Dong Chao and Sui Ba, sworn officers of the court. Before his departure, Lin Chong was brought to a quiet place under the shadow of an arching bridge. His neighbors had gathered. So too had his father-in-law, the aging martial instructor Zhang. They brought food, wine, and tears. Lin Chong knelt before the old man. "Father-in-law," he said, voice rough with emotion, "I have brought shame upon your house. This burden is mine, but I fear for your daughter. The young lord may come again, and I cannot protect her." Zhang shook his head. "You are my son. I do not believe in your guilt, nor do I abandon family when the winds turn cold." But Lin Chong reached into his robe and produced a folded piece of paper. It was crisp, clean, unmarked by tears, yet it trembled in his fingers like a dying leaf. "I have written a letter of release," he said softly. Let her go. Let her live. She is blameless. The old man's eyes misted. You would divorce her to protect her? Lin Chong bowed his head. Better a woman widowed by a living man than ruined by the lust of a lord. The crowd murmured in grief. His wife, led there by a maid, broke through the ring of mourners. Her face was pale, her eyes red. You would cast me aside, she cried. Have I failed you in some duty? Have I looked at another man? Lin Chong's heart shattered. Never. You are too good for this world. That is why I must let you go. But Zhang would not accept it. Write what you must, he said. I will not marry her off again. I will raise her and the maid under my own roof. Let Gao Yane come. He will find only locked doors and sharpened spears. The letter was signed, but not delivered. The promise was made, but not carried out. Lin Chong wept, bowed to his neighbors, and turned his face north, toward exile, toward Kangzhou, toward fate. The road to Kangzhou stretched endlessly before them, shimmering with heat by day and whispering with cold by night. It was high summer, the kind that turns dust into knives and sweat into blood. The iron collar chafed Lin Chong's neck. The raw stripes on his back throbbed with each step. Dong Chao and Shui Ba, the two guards assigned to escort him, were not cruel by duty, but neither were they kind by nature. They walked with short tempers and long sticks. When Lin Chong stumbled, they grumbled. When he groaned, they rolled their eyes. "Move, prisoner!" barked Hui Ba, his voice hoarse like a crow. "What? You're the mighty imperial instructor and yet can't march 5 li without whining?" "I was flogged just days ago," Lin Chong murmured. "The wounds are reopening." "Then bleed faster," snapped Dong Chao. "We've 2,000 li to cover. Best you die early and save us the trouble." By the third day, the sores on Lin Chong's feet had blistered and burst. His shoes filled with blood. Still he walked, hunched beneath the blazing sun like a shadow trying to escape its body. When they stopped at night, it was always in the cheapest of roadside inns. There, Lin Chong, though the prisoner, still paid for their meals. He used what little silver he had tucked away, buying roasted duck and steamed buns for the guards, who accepted the feast with grunts and unspoken expectation. That night, over half-drunk rice wine, Dong Chao slipped off his boots and sighed. "This convict's not as useless as I thought. At least he knows how to treat his escorts." "He won't last much longer," Shui Ba muttered. "His back's rotting. His feet are cooked. One strong breeze and he'll collapse." Dong Chao said nothing. He turned to the window, where the moon hung above the treetops like a single watchful eye. He was thinking of what had happened earlier that day. Earlier that very afternoon, at a small roadside tavern veiled in steam and flies, a man, cloaked in dark silk and darker intentions, had waited in a shadowed booth. His name was Lu Qian, a minor official from Grand Marshal Gao Q's household, but his influence, like poison, spread far beyond his station. When Dong Chao arrived at the inn, summoned by a messenger boy with a nervous stammer, he had not recognized the official, nor did he ask questions. The wine was warm, the food plentiful, and the gold glinted like promises. "You are escorting Lin Chong?" Lu Qian asked quietly. placing 10 taels of gold between them on the lacquered table. I hear the journey to Kangzhou is long and difficult. Dong Chao narrowed his eyes. What of it? I suggest, Lu Qian continued, with a smile as sharp as a dagger's edge, that you take a shortcut. There is a forest not far from here, Wild Boar Forest. Many bandits roam it. Very dangerous. Unfortunate things happen there. Dong Chao understood, not because it was explained, but because men like him don't need explanations, only permission. What if the prefecture asks questions? He asked. Return with the death mark, said Lu Qian smoothly. Bring proof. The Grand Marshal will take care of the rest. Later that evening, Dong Chao and Zhui Ba sat by the fire pretending to sleep. Lin Chong lay beside them, bound and restless, unaware that the forest they would enter at dawn would be his grave. The next morning, the sun had barely kissed the tree-tops when the trio reached the outskirts of a mist-shrouded woodland. Its name, whispered among travelers with unease, was Wild Boar Forest, a place where even echoes refused to return. Lin Chong's chains clinked like funeral bells as he trudged behind the guards. The forest swallowed the road quickly, trees arching overhead like ancient ribs, turning daylight into a green-tinted dusk. The air grew thick, heavy, watchful. Dong Chao stretched his arms. It's hot, he muttered. Let's rest. They veered off the path into a small clearing surrounded by crooked trees. Lin Chong collapsed against a trunk, breath ragged, back burning, legs trembling. We'll nap a while, Hui Ba said, but this place is open. You might try to run. I won't, Lin Chong replied quietly. You have nothing to fear from me. Even so, Dong Chao said with mock cheer, drawing a thick rope from his pack, we'll sleep better if you're tied. Before Lin Chong could speak, his arms were yanked behind him, ankles bound. The iron collar at his neck cut deeper as he was lashed to the tree. Then the truth was spoken aloud. You should understand, Lin Chong, Dong Chao said, now pulling a black cudgel from his bag. This isn't personal. Orders are orders. Zhui Ba's smile was cruel. The Grand Marshal sends his regards. Lin Chong's eyes went wide, his lips parted, but no sound came. Don't worry, Dong said softly. We'll make it quick. We're not monsters. But even as they stepped forward, the forest stirred. Leaves rustled, not from wind, but from something heavier, closer. A voice boomed from the trees like thunder wrapped in rage. You dare? From the shadows leapt a figure, massive, bald, and furious. He wore a monk's robe now torn and dusted with travel, and he wielded a wooden staff thick as an ox's leg. It was Lu Jishen, the wild monk. The two guards froze mid-step. Before they could even shout, Lu Jishen, formerly known as Lu Da, now a Buddhist monk more feared than revered, was upon them. He moved like a storm breaking branches. Dong Chao raised his staff to block, but Lu's quarterstaff cracked down like thunder. Dong's weapon splintered, his wrist snapped backward, and he collapsed with a grunt, writhing on the ground. Hui Ba tried to run, shouting, "Murderer! This is treason!" Lu didn't answer. He didn't need to. His staff answered for him. With a roar, he swung the weapon low, sweeping Shua's legs out from under him. The man flipped in mid-air, crashing to the earth like a sack of grain. Before he could crawl away, Lou stepped forward and pressed the staff to his throat. "Another lie," Lou said coldly, "and I send your soul to hell." The forest fell silent. Only Lin Chong's ragged breathing remained. Lou turned, his expression shifting from wrath to sorrow as he knelt beside the bound man. "Brother Lin," he said softly, pulling a knife from his robe, "forgive my delay." The ropes fell away. Lin Chong collapsed into his arms. "How?" he managed to whisper. "How did you know?" Lou helped him sit, hands gentle. "I followed from Kaifeng. I knew the Grand Marshal wouldn't rest until he had you buried. I just didn't expect this." Lin Chong looked at the two groaning men on the ground. His face, so long etched with stoic pain, twitched with something darker. Lou read the look and shook his head. "They are not worth your hands." Lin Chong nodded slowly. "Then let the law take them." Lou snorted. "There is no law, only power." He stood, towering over the broken guards. "And today, power is in my hands." He turned back to Lin Chong. "You are safe, for now. I'll escort you to Kangzhou myself." Lin Chong looked to the sky, the sunlight breaking through the leaves at last. He had lost his title, his station, his home, but in the shadows of the forest he had gained something else. A friend, a brother, a second chance.